There has never been another time in my life when I lived more of my truth, okay? And I think there are moments of truth in life. You have those moments of truth sometimes when when you lose a loved one. Things are very clear to you. There are moments of truth when you're leaving a job and all those things you wanted to say. All of a sudden, you're free to say. All those things you wanted to do, ideas you had, you're like spouting them out, because you're free. And truthfully, the block is a mental block. And there are moments of truth that allow you to get there. And how awesome would it be if we could have those moments of truth on a daily basis? Because we can. But sometimes it's a little hard to get to. You have to trust yourself. I've had to trust myself. And sometimes you have to be a little selfish.
It's okay.
And I don't mean selfish with the negative connotation that comes with it. I'm talking about selfish in a very healthy way, because we can't be here for anybody else. And I can tell you, going through what I've gone through, it was probably the first time in my life, being a giver, that I had to give to myself. My body was closing in and saying, you have to focus on you. And so those moments of truth, let's try to create them. So for me, the good thing about it is, I went shopping today. My sister took me shopping, and I used to be in a size 18, and I'm now in a size 10. I don't recommend the weight loss plan for anybody. But I just had to throw in a joke. I'm sorry. Moments of truth. I learned on the day after Thanksgiving that I had breast cancer. When I got off the phone with the doctor, my husband was sitting across from me, and I was perfectly fine on the phone with her. The minute I told him that I had cancer, he started crying, so I started crying. And 30 seconds into it, I'm like, no, this is not how we're gonna roll. And this is when my truth started kicking in. And I realized, my husband, here it is, I'm gonna have a loss of income, right? I need to keep him balanced, because we're going to end up in a worse situation. Again, these are like moments of truth for me. I thought about my parents. They're in their 80s. I'm going to dictate how they respond to this situation. I had some beautiful people that went before me that didn't make it in life. And one in particular, my aunt, who taught me strength. And I had these thoughts that if she left me with such strength, maybe my 3 nephews and my niece, maybe they will get something from me like she gave to me, would be for them. And so I wanted them to see their Nana strong, and because that's not me worrying about other people. That's me worrying about them, but wanting to give them something. And from that, I ended up being more public about my experience and the love and support that I got from my family and my friends. I can't tell you how beautiful that was. So I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer. There are 3 hormone receptors that women who get cancer: estrogen, progesterone, and something called HER. And when one of those 3 hormone receptors are not present, they call that a triple negative. And they're usually very aggressive cancers. So I had a cancer a mass the size of an orange in my right breast. Now, don't everybody look at my breast at the same time.
That was a laugh therapy.
There's a triple negative breast cancer. When you have one of the other hormone receptors present, you can get treated in other ways. With a triple negative, you are limited to chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. And so because triple negative breast cancers are aggressive, they tend to respond to chemo very well. So they wanted to do chemo first. So we had mapped out 8 chemos. And so I ended up doing 5 of those chemos before I ended up with other complications, not actually related to the breast cancer. And that is, I developed what's called a pancreatic pseudocyst. The pancreas produces enzymes to break down your food, and the pancreas also produces insulin to bring your blood sugar down. And so, for whatever reason, my pancreas started developing a pseudocyst. It didn't have defined walls, so they call it a pseudocyst and not a cyst, on the outside of my stomach. This mass got to be so large that it closed off my stomach. Ultimately, when they drained it, they drained almost 2 liters of fluid out of it. So the sequence of events was, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I start chemo. By my 5th chemo, I go in to see the breast surgeon, and the breast actually responded very well to the chemo. It was undetectable. At the same time, this mass was growing in me. So he says, I can't do surgery. You need to go and have it drained. I ended up losing blood. I got 5 units of blood. The thing grew. They finally drained it, and they did it endoscopically, where they go in, open up the stomach, and they drain it through the stomach. They put a stent in it. After that, I'm malnourished because I couldn't eat, couldn't drink. I probably didn't eat well for about a month. I get out of the hospital. So from February 22nd to March 31st, I was in the hospital for most of that time. It was about 6 ER visits, so it was not consecutive. And ultimately, March 31st, I'm discharged. I begin to eat well, I'm doing well. I go to see the breast surgeon. He says the mass is growing again. And I was scheduled on April 16th to get the stent taken out by the GI doctor. And the breast surgeon said no. I'm not letting basically anybody else touch you. Because if you go back, you have that procedure done and something goes wrong, then basically I can't put this other fire out. So we immediately went to surgery to remove the mass from my breast, which, if you can imagine, was the size of an orange, became undetectable March 7th, and then by April 16th, when he took it out, it was the size of a peanut. So the fact that it responded to chemo that well was truly a blessing. And the gift, there's been so many gifts, and I will tell you all, I mean, I wanted to just tell my story, but I gotta tell you to look for the gifts in your life, because the gift was cancer. Cancer lets up enough for me to deal with another life-threatening issue that came to pass. And just as I get through that life-threatening situation, I'm able and strong enough to go to surgery. And so the breast surgeon went to surgery April 16th, and the next day I was dancing. And I gotta tell you, music and dance, like you don't know the extent of it. Like the people who have been part of my journey,
videos
it's been funny. It's been funny. So I'll tell you, one part of my truth was I'm a positive person. I've always been a positive person. That can't be for everybody, but to the extent that people can, I will tell you, your body, your mind doesn't work against you when you're positive. Yeah. I have looked for my gifts. People have prayed for me like you would not believe. When I couldn't even pray for myself, when I couldn't even think about what I wanted to pray for, I had to get quiet moments to be able to do that for myself. But I mean, the prayer warriors were amazing. But music and dance. Early on, when I first found out I had it, I was positive about it, but the mind works overtime. The mind was doing a job on me. Very late at night when I was going to bed. During the day I was fine. So I'm like, oh, I gotta do something here. So I started listening. I'm like, I gotta find a theme song to get me out of this. So I ended up finding Yolanda Adams' I'm Gonna Be Ready, which for me was a very powerful song. Put me in God's hands. And I basically said, I'm whatever your will, I'm ready. And I found peace in where I was, whether this was my last few days on earth or if it was a long time. And I remember asking myself back then, you know, it's like, well, God, if I have a long time to live, a short time to live, because I had family members to pass away, too many family members to pass away due to cancer, it's like, if I have a short time to live, how do I spend my time? And the answer for me was very simple: live, be loving, enjoy the friendships, give your gifts. And I'm like, okay, if I have a long time to live, how do I spend my time? Live, be loving, friendships, give your gifts, you know, those things are important. I was like, wow, that's my gift. I have accepted my mortality at this moment, if this is it, and I'm going to use every bit of my time to smile, to dance, to sing, and hopefully leave good pictures. And if I have a long time to live, how awesome has this journey been? And I will live to tell the story about it. So, you know, that was an incredible gift to me. So back to Yolanda Adams. So I'm singing in this song. If you've all ever heard Yolanda Adams, I'm going to be ready. I was in bed, I was crying. I'm like, oh, this is not the effect I was looking for. This is not good. So then I'm like, all right, I gotta find some upbeat music. So I had Kool and the Gang's Get Down On It. I don't know how I ended up with Kool and the Gang's Get Down On It, but this song was good for me. And you know, it's like, get up off the wall, dance, come on. And I'm like, the wall was cancer for me. I'm like, I gotta get up off of it and do my, you know, again, the mind just starts, and then I had I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross, and what was my third one? I had a third one. I can't remember. Oh, Happy by Pharrell. So those were like my 3 songs. And then eventually friends started sending me songs. So somebody sent me a James Brown song. What was that one? Get Up Off That Thing. So the day after my surgery, that ended up being, and I'm happy to share, like at some point today I got the little video, I'll show you all, that I did. So the day after my breast surgery, you know, I was dancing to James Brown, and it was actually amazing, because I wanted my friends to know that physically I was doing fine, but more importantly, I was doing fine emotionally, you know, and I could tell you that, but you're not going to believe it. You're like, she's just being, she's just, you know, protecting us. And no, I was truly doing fine. I've had people send me, you know, they sent me a documentary called Heal and said, you need to watch this documentary. And I realized how so much I would recommend this documentary for all of you through Netflix.
Very powerful.
Very, very powerful. And I realized how much of the way I approached my journey was not working against my body, and how much my body truly wanted to heal, right? So, you know, the pictures that I posted to my friends, I mean, they were authentically me. You know, I didn't put makeup on. I'm in my nasty robe. I've got my jacket that nobody should see me wear, you know, and I just, I shared it all, you know, with the exception of a few things.
Yes.
You know.
Thank you, Troy.
Just a few. But I mean, I wish you could see the video of my dad and I singing when he, you know, his song for me was Three Little Birds.
I love that so much.
There was, I mean, my sister flew in from Charlotte, North Carolina, and was there for me through some really difficult times. I thought it was going to be really, you know, I thought it was going to be easy. You know, I'd go to chemo and then she'd come, and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm perfectly fine. And then I would have issues with my stomach, and poor girl was running all over the place trying to fix me something to eat, but my taste buds kept changing. I didn't know what I could eat. And she can't cook. I mean, I'm sorry.
It's public knowledge.
Oh man. So what else can I tell you about where am I right now in the process, so you can appreciate? I had done 5 chemos, and then all these things happened. So the last thing that I had happen was I had breast surgery. I had to recover from that, and now they're ready to restart the chemo. And so I've had some questions to ask, and I've learned that you really have to be an advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
And some doctors don't like you being an advocate. I mean, they'll tell you be an advocate for yourself, but I can't tell you to the extent how important this is.
Especially when you're smart.
You're not always going to have family members there for you, and you have to speak up for yourself. I was in the hospital long enough to begin to see patterns in how test happy people are. They're trying to save lives, and they're trying to cover themselves, and at the same time, this is my life. I have long-term implications to think about, and I just want to make sure that, you know, have you ever done a presentation for work and you have to, or you're applying for a job and you sent them your resume? You can't assume that they actually read your resume, right? So doctors that would come in, I wouldn't assume that they knew everything about me. I made sure that I had a list of things that I wanted to tell them about me. Again, this is me. This is my truth. You know,
this is who you are.
This is who I am. So, funny story. I'll just tell you quickly how I discovered I had cancer and how funny God is in this process, and how this whole experience has helped me live more of my truth. So I was having all of these GI issues on this side, and the weight of my breast was causing further complications, musculoskeletal, further complicating my GI tract. And I'm like, you know, I need a breast reduction. I just can't take this anymore. So I go to my primary care doctor, ask for some names. She gives it to me verbally, but I don't respond well to verbal. You know? So 2 months pass, and I don't follow up with any of the names that she suggested I research. And then I kept going back to her for complications I was having. And finally she wrote to me and said, this is a very well-respected breast reduction surgeon. So I go to see, well, I call the office, and they say that you have to check your insurance. I call my insurance company, and they say it's not covered. I'm like, it's not covered? What do you mean? Like, I'm in pain. How could this not be covered? They're like, well, if you had cancer, you know, it would be covered. So I have to bite a real big bullet here. And I'm like, I'm in pain. I don't care what it's going to cost me. I need to take the steps to learn what to do in this situation. Let me go and at least have a conversation with this breast reduction surgeon. So I go to see her. She orders the mammogram. And I find out that I have the mass the size of an orange in the other breast that was giving me absolutely no problems. Right? So I'm like, all right, God's a funny God. He's like, you want that breast reduction? Girl, I got you covered. and you want insurance to pay for it? Look out, I got you covered there too. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, like, I always wanted a short haircut. But I have to leave my job and go on vacation to cut my hair. So I'm like, God's like, and that haircut you wanted is coming too, and you can just do it in front of everybody, just out in the open. So I'm like, be careful of what you ask for, because I mean, truthfully, I think that my body was yearning to be more in balance. I think my body was yearning for me to live more of my truth. And cancer for me has been a gift from day one. The fact that I learned about it the day after Thanksgiving, I thought was the first clue that it was a gift. The fact that Christmas came after that, I'm like, this is my Christmas gift. Because if not, I would still be walking around with it, because I had gone to the doctor so much in 2018 that I was not going to do anything else until probably until later in this year. And so, you know, fortunately, you know, they tested my lymph nodes, they tested my uterus, they tested my pancreas, they tested my, in the other breast, and all of those things came back negative. But because this mass was so large, if it had gone undetected much longer, it would have ended up in my lymph nodes, I'm confident, you know? So where I am now on my journey is, breast surgery was April 16th. I finally met with the oncologist to talk about the 3 chemos that I didn't do. So I will probably finish those chemos beginning next week. So I was like, please don't let it happen before the conference, because I never know how I'm going to respond to the medication. I will tell you all this. For me, there was only a couple of subjects that were off base. Chemo was a subject I didn't want to talk to anybody about. This is my truth, right? I was like, I want to know, I don't want to know what your mother, friend, or anybody else experienced with chemo. Like, I don't even want to do research on the drug. I got a mass the size of an orange in my body. There's no question in my mind that I'm going to trust Western medicine to do its thing. You know, like I don't want to. I need to live a healthier life. I'm working towards that. But I needed, in that moment, I didn't have any question in my mind that I had to go that route. And there were people who wanted to share their stories about chemo timeout. No, like I could feel the stress raising in my body. And like if you are in tune with yourself, not just for something like this, but with anything, when you feel that stress coming on, remove yourself from the situation. Like, and that's what I did, time out. And I was very open and honest. That is a subject I don't speak about, you know? So I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's like, people are, and everybody that came at me with love, you know? But there were certain things that I couldn't take. I also met with the radiation person 2 days ago to find out whether or not I need to move forward with radiation. Naturally, they're going to strongly suggest that I do. My case, you know, if you have like some residual left in the breast after the cancer, you're a strong candidate. I mean, after the surgery, you're a strong candidate for radiation. If you have, if it's gone into your lymph nodes, you're a strong candidate for radiation. Just the size of my mass, years ago, the old research said just the size of the mass alone would have been a good candidate for radiation. That's not as conclusive now. So I have some decisions to make about what I will do in going forward with that. But I think through it all, I feel blessed. I feel loved. I feel like I know, I have a greater sense of what my purpose is in life, and it really hasn't changed. I want to make a difference in the lives of the people I come in contact with. I don't have to change the world. If I can change one person one time, if there's something from my story, anything that has meant anything to you, so be it. That's what my life is about. I will tell you, I never, ever asked why. I never, ever asked why me. I just stayed focused. At my worst moments, I was walking like this. My heart rate was, resting heart rate was 140 beats. And my body was, everything about it was just closing in with my body, just taking care of my body. And when family came to visit, I couldn't have them answer their phones in the room. Definitely don't put anybody on speakerphone. I couldn't turn the television on. And I could begin to see when I was coming back. You know, when I was by myself, I actually wanted to turn the television on. You know, it's like I was slowly coming out of it. So, you know, what I think more than anything is I understood my mortality. I think the hardest thing for me was the people that I loved.
We love you.
Possibly leaving them. But I wasn't worried about it for me. And I don't think, and eventually I had to let that go. Because in order for me to care for me, I had to really be selfish. And
proud of you for being totally selfish. Remember when we had that conversation a few years ago? Erica and I.
Oh my goodness!
It's okay to say no, Troy.
It's okay. I mean, I will tell you. Ever since Hurricane Katrina, like my body began to need to get into balance, and you know, it. I'm actually I just thought of a really funny. At the time of Katrina, I don't know how many people in here went through that, but they used to have mounds of stuff that had come out of houses, you know, and And some people would look at it and they would get really depressed by it. I would look at it and I thought, that's progress. Like, because that stuff would still be in people's houses, you know? And it's that same mindset that I look at my own experience. It's like, I've gone through some horrible stuff. To people looking on the outside, it doesn't look too pretty. As a matter of fact, my breast surgeon, when he took the wrap off, he's like, I need to warn you, it's not going to be pretty. I'm like, that is gorgeous. Like, that is like so beautiful. You know? And it was the same type of thing. It's like I saw, that's progress. That means that's out of me. How awesome is that? And I mean, like, we've got things happening in our lives that look horrible, but sometimes I think it's the lens that you wear and you look at it with. And it's not always easy when you're in relationships with other people, which is why those conversations we had years ago with me trying to let go of things was so hard, and to say no, because I don't know how to say no. You learn you know, I'm in real estate, and I always wanted to have an assistant or a partner with people. All you got to do is get cancer. Like, it became very clear. I interviewed people, made a decision, and bam, you know, my career continued on. And I'm like, why did that take me like 2 years to think about? And now all of a sudden, I made a decision in a week. Like, it doesn't have to be that. You know, it's but I wish you all much love and happiness through your journey. I wish that each and every one of you all find your truth. I was reminded by a friend of mine that, you know, TroyLynne, you know, you have been very open about your experience. Like, that's not my truth. And I thought, how beautiful is that for me to hear that from her before coming here, because not everybody is meant to be public about their experiences. It's whatever your truth happens to be. I'm glad that my truth gives me an opportunity to share with you. Part of the reason it was important for me too was it was my breast. It was a private part of my body that was going to physically change. I'm like, if it's going to change, it's going to change out in the open, and I'm going to tell my story. I'm not going to have people sitting there wondering, well, what happened? I'm just going to tell you what happened. I tell men, women, people in my office, I've just taken them all through the journey with me. It's like an elbow. So I think we, at times in life, get caught into a victim mode. You know, it's like you hurt your leg, so you're walking with a limp. I was telling this story the other day. Say if somebody negligently left something on the floor that you tripped over, and you might not really be hurt, you know, but you performed a little bit, and you keep performing, you keep performing, you keep performing. Before you know it, you're walking with a limp, and that limp is messing up your other hip. And do you know what I mean? Like, there are things in life that happen to you that you can get out of quickly, but we cripple ourselves with our own minds, right? So part of the reason the sharing of this journey, I think, is important to me, and I don't know where it's going to be years from now, because part of the way I am is I got to feel the emotion of it, and I don't know where the emotions are going to be down the road. But I know that for me right now, by sharing my story and sharing the positivity of it, my story lives, right?
Absolutely.
But it lives in a positive way and not a crippling way. You know what I mean? It's like
it's very empowering.
Yeah, it's so that is it's a so just know that having this opportunity here with you all, it's therapeutic for me. Everybody in this room, everybody that might see this, I want them to know that it's possible. But you have to do it your way. And I think the key is paying attention to your body, paying attention to your heart, and being free enough to communicate what you need to those around you.
Absolutely.
You know, and I will tell you, like, one thing, because I really think this was an important part of my journey to talk about the mind and how people who love you, their challenges, and how important it is to live your truth. When I found out I had it, the next step was for me to go and meet with the breast surgeon. So I wanted my husband, my mom, and my dad to be there present with me, and this is why. You know, under normal circumstances, it probably would have been perfectly fine for me to go with my husband. But my parents, who love me, are going to be like, oh, we got to get our baby to MD Anderson. Like, they're going to be like acting out. And no matter what we go back and tell them,
wouldn't be sufficient.
It's not going to be sufficient. So I'm like, okay, we are all going to hear this together. This is me, right? And now the beauty of this is my mother and my husband are two totally different people when approaching stressful situations. They're two totally different people. But especially when approaching stressful situations. So the fact that I was being selfish, I'm like, I don't care what you want, I don't care what you want. This is what I want because I know this is what I need in order for us all to be on the same page. So we're not fighting against each other in love for me. You know, so we went there, and then the first thing was only one person could go back with me with the doctor while I'm being examined. And mom's coming running. I'm like, no, mom, my husband's gonna come to me with this. But at the same time, I made sure that the doctor didn't speak to any of us about anything. I wanted all four of us to hear it cold together, and everybody had free reign to ask whatever questions they wanted. But mom and dad, I was just told, respect my husband. Like, make sure that whatever questions he asks, because he's quiet. You know, he's a good, just kind. And I didn't, I need him as a partner in this with me, and I need him to be heard. And I know my family, we will get all of our questions answered. So I'm like, so ground rule here is everybody be respectful of everybody else, and make sure that everybody's questions are heard. And if you could have seen the respect in the room, and mom who is, she will do what she needs to do to get what she wants. She's like, Mark, did you get your, it was so beautiful. And I was like, wow,
We can do this all the time.
But that would not have, I could, what goes on in the mind is the most, it's the thing that will propel us, I think, forward or will hold us back. And I knew what had to happen in the way it needed to happen for me, and I made that happen. And through it, we all got through it as a loving family. And this woman here, oh my goodness, there's some people you need in your life, and you just know, you just dial them into the part that they're supposed to play. So see me, I could very easily just be patient, because I was like, Sabrina's like, you need an advocate, So in the beginning, she was my advocate, and oh my goodness. So I never had to worry about asking a ton of questions at the very beginning, because she was asking all of them for me. So all I had to do was be patient, just be patient and a patient. But I'm grateful. I sit here before you in complete gratitude. I don't know where this journey has taken me. My breast surgeon, I'm like, can I say I'm cancer-free? I said, when can I say I'm cancer-free? He says, you can say you're cancer-free now. I go to see the oncologist. I'm like, can I say I'm cancer-free? Well, we never tell you that you can say you're cancer-free. I'm like, forget you. I'm going to hold the fact. So y'all, I sit before you today cancer-free.